Hello, hi, welcome to Directly to You. It's friggin' episode 339? Question mark?
239.
Why do I don't? I mean, it's the 30. That's what it is. It's the 30
That's
is
the
like
one.
it's what makes me say 3. But
So next week's 440.
exactly
Math.
440. That's how it works. But anyways, it's our podcast. We do it. We talk about stuff. We'll talk about what we talk about and do all that stuff and housekeeping and whatnot when we get to it. You know. But right now we're getting to the Mario movie because Parker saw it, so I want to hear his
That's
thoughts.
right.
I haven't.
I will give
seen
no
it.
spoilers.
So no spoilers for me and
Yeah,
also
for
the
obvious
audience.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, I saw it on today's Thursday for when we're recording this. I saw it yesterday on Wednesday, the day that it came out. So I'm like the realist fan.
It's true.
No. Yeah. So I saw it yesterday. We went with some friends of ours that I've talked about on the podcast here and there before, but our friends Chris and Steph and their son Asher, who typically listens to this podcast. So hello, Asher.
Hi.
I had a great time watching the movie with you. He's almost 10 for context, and his younger sister as well was there. And so that was, I mean, for one thing, that was just a fun little group to go with because it was fun to, watch it as me and then also as like with a family. And Chris, Dad dressed up as Yoshi, Asher dressed up as Mario, Nora dressed up as Princess Peach. It was a splendid time.
You didn't dress up as nobody. You messed it up.
No, I just wore a Mario shirt, just like a doofus.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not dressing up as nobody either.
There was a guy like 2 rows ahead of us that was dressed up like full Mario getup, and I was very happy about that.
Somebody got to wear the Jack Black Bowser suit. They got to get the same one.
That's true. I didn't see a single one, so missing out. But yeah, spoiler-free review is basically what a fun movie. It was a really, really good time. I mean, I think basically all the we'll get into it here in a second, but all of the feedback that you've seen from other people that have seen it, from like friends of yours or people on the internet, they're right. It's exactly the things that they've said, which is like just a fun time. The soundtrack is amazing, and it's just like Easter eggs all over the place. And the soundtrack literally like they tried to throw in so many different little references that are all like, kind of like, as Asher pointed out to me at some point, the like Super Mario 3 theme was going on while we saw in a trailer at some point the Mario wears a Tanuki suit at some point. And then those things coincided. And that's like, that's just so nice. The like soundtracks happen at the same time as the things that are on screen. And it's just really good. The other thing I'll say, Chris Pratt's voice, not nearly as annoying or whatever. Like, it's like I mean, it could have been better, I'm sure, but it was like just kind of blended in eventually, and it didn't take me out of it. And that was at least what I was hoping, was like that his performance would be fine, enough that I could not be bothered by it, and that certainly ended up being the case. So I was happy about that. But yeah, just like as for a video game movie, like it just did a good job too of like, oh, that's the thing from the video game at various points. And that's just, always a fun time. But at the same time was able to like dive in a little bit deeper into like story, context, lore sorts of stuff than typically Mario games would do. So that was nice, like, yeah. I'll stop it there as far as like spoiler few things. But we'll talk about, I have more thoughts based off all of that that we'll talk about
we'll
in a minute. But
we'll
first,
do the full spoiler thing on the Patreon podcast. How about that?
Yep.
How about that?
That sounds good.
But right now we're going to talk about more Mario movie related things that have nothing to do with the movie itself, mostly. Kinda. But anyways, right now, the housekeeping. You can support the channel by going to youtube.com/watchredirect or twitch.tv/watchredirect and giving $4.99 of your money. Or if you're on Twitch, you can give us Jeff Bezos money. If you have Amazon Prime, you link it to your Twitch account. You get a free subscription every month. All you got to do is remember to renew it. You can see all the stuff that you can get for that by going to our Patreon. and that will tell you on the $4 tier, the $8 tier, and the $32 tier, depending on if you do those levels on those platforms that I just mentioned. You get that same stuff. You get emotes. It's a little cheaper if you do it on those platforms. I mean, on Patreon than those platforms, because you don't get emotes, because we can't serve those. But on Twitch and YouTube, they got emotes. So if you want YouTube emotes, do it on YouTube. If you want Twitch emotes, do it on Twitch. But anyways, you also get access to this show that we record every week, and you get video and you see us. You get to contribute to the show in the chat for the Discord. It's a great old fun time. Also, follow us on Twitter. It's on the screen.
True. So yeah, there we go. Good stuff. All right, getting back to Mario things. So a couple different directions we're going to go with this all at once. Number one, this movie seems to be on track to be doing very, very well and performing really well, and that's nice. So, for example, there was a tweet from Benji Sales, who does like data analytics stuff for video game things, but also just entertainment industry in general, who mentions gigantic opening day worldwide for the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and audience scores are through the roof. A cinema score, 96% audience on Rotten Tomato, 34 million international, 31 million domestic. So 66 million opening worldwide opening day. The road to $1 billion box office starts now. Thoughts?
I mean, yes, of course.
Yep.
Duh.
Same.
You know, like I don't know why this is like a. I mean, well, I know why. It's because people have like the opposite of recency bias with video game movies. Like I've recently retweeted a Verge thing where they were like,
yeah, I saw that.
This is the video game movie to beat them all, and finally we get a good one, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, like we're like 5, 6 or more even movies into people saying that over and over and over again, right?
Yeah, which I mean, like best case scenario or something like. Maybe they're all leapfrogging each other, and it's true of this one, but like not to disparage any of the other ones that already did it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I would hear that if it was true. You know, like because we had Detective Pikachu and Sonic within the same like proximity of each other. I don't even remember which one came out first.
Think Detective Pikachu. Yeah, Detective Pikachu.
So if that's the case, then yeah, definitely no, because the Sonic movie is not as
true.
Yeah, and then the second Sonic movie, obviously, and then there are like other video game movies like the World of Warcraft thing, and then like all the other ones that people are like, this is pretty good too. This isn't like bad, and people like cared when they made this movie, so it's good. I feel like the actual thing that broke the quote unquote video game curse is stuff like the MCU, and before that, like the Dark Knight Rises and all that stuff. Like that is what broke this quote unquote curse, is because they realized, similar to what happened in the video game space, that licensed things should be good too. It turns out people want you to make good stuff out of the property that they care about, and they're not just going to give you money and be happy about it because you put whatever licensed property that they care about on the screen. And like they'll give you more money for making the thing good than if it was just this random property or whatever. Like you get more bang for your buck if you make a good movie that is from a property that people care about. And they're starting to do that now. It has nothing to do with like video games changing or anything like that. It's them having the eureka moment where it's like, oh wait, Mario's not different from Mickey Mouse. Let's treat him like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. I mean, I think to that too, you know, like with these movies, then you can make a good movie be great to its core audience just by merit of like it's a good movie at its core, and then also has some fan service Easter eggs things. I think at some points there were like the movies or property, either like video games of movies or movies of video games or anything like that, were just the fan service stuff, and that's it. Right. You know, and then to your point, they decided let's make them good now. And then this movie, as we know, has lots and lots of little Easter eggs and stuff as well. Where like if you don't know a single thing about Mario, IMO, still just a good movie that you just enjoy, and you're like, yeah, like I've maybe heard of this guy before, but like it's, you know, it's a funny movie, it's a fun time, just as far as movies go. But then as a Mario fan, it's just like,
It's
you know,
that much more
elevates it
better.
to be, yeah, exactly. And so I think that's something that like people can tap. I mean, honestly, same goes for like Marvel stuff at this point, where like even the worst Marvel things, for somebody who's like watching it for the, you know, like Quantum Mania is a good example, where it's like, I thought as a movie it was fine, you know, like it was fine. And but for like trying to see the Easter eggs and like see where it's leading and stuff like that, it was a lot better for that.
Right.
If it were a better movie, it would be even better on both of those fronts. But yeah, I think like it's funny that this is such a, I mean, it could be that it doesn't hit $1 billion. I don't see that happening, at least not by like a slim margin. Like I feel like it's just going to, or it's going to be just shy of it. But that shouldn't be that surprising, because it's just it's ticking all those boxes of being a good movie, and also is, you know, making people who like Mario feel good about the fact that they like Mario.
Also, it wouldn't be the first time Mario made $1 billion. Turns out.
Yeah.
You know, like people spend a lot of money on Mario. I don't think this movie will be any different. And that, I mean, that's another like aspect of this too, right? Where like fandoms spend a lot of money on partaking in their fandom. Like people are going to see this movie again and again and again and again. Whereas like other movies that aren't like steeped in like some sort of fandom, like they have a bigger drop off, because it's like, okay, I saw that movie and maybe it was good, but I don't care enough to see it again. But in the Mario movie,
I'll wait for it
it's
to
like,
come out and I'll
okay,
buy it or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with the Mario movie, it's like, nah, I gotta go back, because like I didn't catch all the suits that were in the background. I gotta see if they put friggin' Mr. Toadsworth and the movie in the background. Like, what about the thing with Diddy Kong? You know, it's like you have a reason to want to go to see the movie over and over and over and over again. And also like, you know, the theater aspect of it, depending on the person, that could be a bigger part of like wanting to experience your fandom in that atmosphere after so long of being denied of it. You know, it's like, I always felt like this was this kind of big deal and they didn't, but now they do, so I'm going to indulge in it, you know. I think that's going to be or it just always is with stuff like this. That is another aspect of this that I think like regular movies don't generally get.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. And then I think, you know, the funny thing with this too is just the disparity between the 55, 54, whatever percent critic score and 96, 98, whatever audience score. And it's a funny thing. I will say one thing that I don't really know is, or maybe I do know, I feel like movie reviews do tend to use the more full range scale of like, there's movies that are 29s, you know, and like you don't really find any games that are 29s outside of like just purely broken off, like it's barely a game kind of a thing, you know. More often than not, like a 50 is like just complete failure of a game. Whereas for movies like that, it seems like they use more the full range. So that said, translated, maybe a 55 actually
is like, this
on
is
Rotten
fine.
Tomatoes is more like a 72 on Metacritic for games. I don't know, you know.
I could see that, because I think that game reviewers typically try to reserve the lower half of it for like this game doesn't function, and movies don't need to account for that for the most part.
Honestly,
you know, like you're not going to like run into a movie that's in theaters and it's like the movie just never finishes. It just it cuts off every time I start the movie, and you know, like you don't got to account for that. You know,
you get to scene 3 and it just loops scene 3 over and over and over again, like soft lock on scene 4.
The frames are like bleeding into each other. You know, like the projector fell through the floor. Like you don't see stuff like that. I think that game reviews, I mean, rightfully so, Rightfully, in like in the sense that it is important, but like also get better at nuance. They put so much weight on that it's like this. It is a triumph that this game at least works. So I'm going to give it at least a 4, and then we're going to work up from there. Movies don't do that. It's like I wasn't entertained, so this movie gets a 30. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's it. I think to that point overall, like it seems like a lower score. Like it's kind of apples and oranges in some senses there. Not that you can't compare apples and oranges again, that whole thing. But so I don't really take issue with the score being what it is in and of itself, because I don't really care. Like, I think the people that I'm going to trust is really the audience rating, and me at this point, because I've seen it. And so if you know that you trust me as a person, cool, there you go. What I will say is I do think it's interesting for maybe just kids movies as a whole or something. And this is primarily, a kids movie or a fan movie. Like those are the main two things, or like a family movie, all that stuff, I saw somebody retweeting that Evil Dead Rising coming out next week or something like that. It got a 96 on Rotten Tomato, and that's great. Cool for that movie. That is like it's a horror movie, so it has a very specific niche, which is horror movie fans to some degree. And if you're not somebody who enjoys horror movies, then you're not going to be the critic that's going to review that.
Right.
And I feel like there's certain genres, games as well, that like only people that would enjoy the genre will then review that thing. And so then things typically that like ups the scale by some amount, at least. There's still obviously then bad horror movies, but for something to be a good, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody's going to be like, I was scared like half the time. Like that's just not going to be a thing. And I feel like it's just, I mean, it's a whole thing in the probably movie critic space. So it's not just a Mario movie thing, but it's just the one that I've noticed it in. It's like, there was a 65-year-old guy that reviewed it and compared Bowser to like 2 dead white guys that died like years and years and years ago. And it was like, and somebody retweeted it and was like, how is Bowser not the way more recognizable thing than like Erschwin Gertzfeld or what? I don't know. I just made up a name. And these 2 characters from like forever ago, how is Bowser not the more recognizable one? So like, should that person be the person for that outlet that's like reviewing it as like a hard and fast critic? Maybe not. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
So no, with that person specifically, but a thing that I do like think is a problem in game criticism is that it's like one end of the spectrum or the other. It's like people see merit in like, well, I rather hear the opinion of somebody that isn't a huge fan of this thing because their opinion's not going to be painted by, well, I already liked the last one, so I like this one because it's kind of like that, versus being like, is this game like actually good for like what it's trying to be, like in a vacuum. Not that it's like it's another version of the thing that you like. There's that, right? But then there's also the end of it that's like, you don't want to have it reviewed by somebody that's like walking in and immediately going to hate it because they don't like that sort of thing, right? Like I wouldn't want to review a freaking Final Fantasy game because that game isn't made for me, but at the same time, I wouldn't go to somebody that loves every Final Fantasy thing and ask them if it's good. All of that said, I think movies are a little different because, like, they're more accessible in the sense that, like, you don't have to think, like, am I going to have fun playing this video game? Am I able to play this video game? Do I have the console to play this video game or whatever, right? Like, if it's in the zeitgeist, it's like, at some point I'll see it, like it comes on Netflix, like it's $2 movie, like 4 months into its run, or like that sort of thing. Like people talk about the movie people that are not like squarely in the target audience are gonna want to see the movie, or are gonna have to see the movie with like parents and stuff like that, right? So there is that argument there where it's like, well, these are people that like at the end of the day will be advertised this movie, so maybe they should be represented in the criticism for it. But it's like there's an imbalance there where most movie critics are those people, you know, like just by nature of the industry and how old it is in comparison to games. So I don't know. Maybe it's like you got to weigh the percentages differently or something. Where it's like, this movie has this target audience, so we want this percentage of people that come from that space, and this percentage of people that are just this demographic and don't specifically cover anything in particular, and then a percentage of people that are traditional movie, friggin'. Nah, I don't want to make that comparison. But just I was going to say electoral college it, but that's also bad. So not specifically that, but you know, like just.
But yeah, I see what you mean for sure.
That sort of idea, but performed better in a more like fruitful way than that.
I mean, and it all just goes to show too that it's like, you know, the review score system is just not really one that just works great in all situations, because, you know, really, again, like you said with the Final Fantasy thing, like the much better thing to know is are there a couple of people out there that are going to bother to spend the money and time to do a thing that I might be interested in, that I enjoy the things typically that they like too. And then you could just let them guinea pig it for you. And that's the only people that you need to pay attention to, because who cares about the rest, you know? And so that's a nice thing in case. But yeah, exactly. It's a weird thing overall, but it is nice to see that at least, I mean, if for no other reason than just that people are enjoying it, it's nice to see that people are enjoying it, because that's the people that it was made for.
Right.
So like, you know, audience score, good, because people happy. I mean, and obviously there's situations where people will review, like positive bomb a movie or whatever, you know, and there's probably some of that here, but I think, generally everybody that I've seen see the movie has been like, at minimum, it was like, that was all right. And, you know, I like Mario fine, so that wasn't bad. And
something that
that's
I want
a great
to
place
see
to start.
Something I want to see all of these like aggregate sites do more is like have an aggregate score between the critics and the like fan reviews or whatever, right? Because I think that's probably the more realistic like actual score.
Yeah.
Because like those critics are people that would watch the movie anyway, you know, a lot of the times. So why should their opinion get thrown out if the fans don't particularly like that opinion, you know?
Right.
I think that the score in the middle probably makes more sense more often than not.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, they agree, you know, sometimes the fan reviews and the critic reviews are like pretty close, if not one and the same. Like Breath of the Wild's fan and critic reviews are pretty close. And there's a lot of other examples like that too. So it's it's like, and also I'm scared of like that whole idea where it's like trusted fan review, because like a critic review isn't going to be like, well, I think the fans are going to say this, so I'm going to say this to counterbalance it or whatever, right? But the fans will be like, well, the critic
100%.
said this, and I don't necessarily think that. I might have not even seen this movie, but because I'm angry that the critic said this, I'm going to say that it's a 10 out of 10, and like, that's not useful either.
I've definitely seen some user reviews that are like, really, I think this game is a 7 out of 10, but right now everybody's giving it a 6, and so I'm going to give it a 10 to just like bounce it out. It's like,
dumb.
Okay,
that's not helpful.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a silly time. But yeah, I mean, that said, I think, you know, excited to see where this movie specifically in and of itself goes. Also excited for the success of this. That probably does mean the things that we've talked about in the past, which is like a Nintendo Cinematic Universe of some sort, or, you know, at least, if nothing else, sequel to this movie. But very possibly spin-off of this kind, or, you know, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I would be surprised if there's not at least a
sequel.
Mario cinematic universe, but there's going to be more Mario movies. That will happen.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like it's just got to. And not a spoiler, but I will say, like, Luigi was in this movie a little bit less than I would have expected, only because he's the one that's, being captured and stuff. So he's still definitely in there, but not nearly as much as Mario. So, like, Luigi's Mansion movie the game is not out of the realm of possibility.
The movie is called Mario Bros. Not just
it's
Mario.
True. Yeah,
that.
very true. Yeah. So, that kind of thing. I think there's at least a couple of spin-offs that are possible out of just this one movie. Donkey Kong's in the movie. So, like, you just make a Donkey Kong movie too.
People mad at Donkey Kong right now, though. They don't like him. Or they don't like that Donkey Kong specifically.
Have they been mad about it?
People were mad at they did the Chris Pratt thing, which, as far as I'm concerned, so far fair for him. I haven't seen the movie though, but like people are mad that Chris Rogen was. Seth Rogen was Rogen? I'm not doing a voice.
Oh,
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. That's. That's fine. Yeah, man, that's really funny. Because I think he even said it in the quote, and I don't know. I don't really care that much one way or another about Seth Rogen. I think he's been in some funny things that I've seen, and he's been funny in them. But I think he said, like, I just don't really do voices ever. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, if that's just like a stance overall, then like there's no reason to be mad about this. They still cast him because they wanted that voice for Donkey Kong. So like then it's a Illumination and Nintendo thing to be mad at, not a Seth Rogen thing.
Either way, I think that it is more on them, because the thing about Donkey Kong versus Mario is Donkey Kong's voice is already like modulated in the video games. So like, why didn't they just do that in the movie? Like modulated Mario's voice to sound more like Mario would not sound good, but like Donkey Kong would be a lot more believable, I think.
Yeah. And same for like Bowser and Toad, honestly. And like, they didn't really do much. Even for Toad, I thought that it was pitched up. I would have imagined, and then watched an interview with with Keegan-Michael Key and some, the other folks. And he showed, he's like, yeah, I started doing it. And then I was like,
oh yeah,
a little bit higher. And it was like, oh no, that was just him talking like surprisingly high. Like, I did not know that he'd be able to have that kind of range for, whole scripted lines or whatever. But yeah, he did. So like, surprising that they didn't do that for even those characters. But yeah, like you said, they could have totally done it for Donkey Kong if they wanted to, and just didn't, because I don't know. I guess probably having, I don't know, especially after like Pixar movies doing it and stuff, where like, oh, anytime you hear Tom Hanks, you think Woody, or anytime you hear Woody, you think Tom Hanks. Like, like that there's just a one-to-one connection with those voices. Having more of that than less of that, I guess, for the franchise purposes. I
think that's
for the movie industry kind of purposes.
Yeah, I think that makes sense for Toy Story, because Woody didn't exist before Tom Hanks, right? But Bowser did, and Donkey Kong did, and Mario did. So it's like I don't think that logic works the same. But like, it's not that big of a deal. Whatever.
Yeah, it is interesting to just think like, what kinds of decisions did either side have to just kind of like give in on? Like either Illumination was like, all right, fine, we'll do that, or Nintendo was like, all right, fine, we'll do that. And it sounds like from the Variety interview, at least, that like they were, generally of the same mind of things. But obviously there were certain disagreements on something. So, yeah. But speaking of the two of them, there was an article, this thingy, blah, 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 blah. Somebody asked, what was the context of this? I don't know. Somebody asked, we suspect this is just the beginning. How much have you planned for this new cinematic universe's future? Perhaps Super Mario Galaxy for a future installment? And Chris Melodandri said, we're so focused on right now on this movie all the way up to Wednesday and how the audience engages with the film. Nintendo and Illumination have had a really rewarding collaboration. Mr. Miyamoto and his colleagues have invited me to join the board of directors at Nintendo, and we're working together into the future with me in that capacity. But it's hard to talk about anything else at this time. Like Chris, and then Miyamoto said, like Chris mentions, there's nothing we can share now, but I'm sure we'll continue working on this partnership, which we kind of already knew, but I put it in here anyway. So yeah, I think we'll see more stuff. What I'm curious about is, do they do things with not Illumination as well?
I
hope so.
don't know.
I mean, I hope so, more in terms of like, I want there to be more
Nintendo
amount of things.
Yeah,
than,
that's what I was going to say. Where it's like, I guess it depends on what they want the output to be, because if they want like freaking 6 Nintendo movies a year or whatever, right? Like, Illumination is probably not going to do that, whether they want to or not, you know? So they would have to partner with more people or have their own internal thing or whatever. I think ultimately, yes, they're going to do, like, it's going to eventually get to the point where this is just a fully in-house thing, I would assume. But in the immediate future, maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe not indeed. So yeah, Mario movie, fun little time. Excited to see more things coming out of that in the future. Also, I'm sure I'll be watching. I don't know if I'm going to go back to the theaters to watch the movie, because going to theaters is hard. So, especially with, well, okay. So also, we were going to bring, it was on a Wednesday at 4:45, and we were like, I don't know how we're going to figure out babysitting for Ezra. So we were just going to bring her. And then I texted Chris and I was like, hey, do you remember? Well, so my wife Ashley was like, is this a 3D movie? And I was like, I did not even think of that at all. So I texted Chris and he said, yep, sure is. At which point I remembered that 3DSs warn you you're not supposed to use 3D until you're 7. I was like, that's not going to go well for anybody. So it's not like, I mean, Ezra's not going to wear the glasses. She's almost 2. So like, and then also she's just not going to sit through it. You know, like, that's just not going to happen. We got her little like headphone cover, you know, things, so that she could go. Cause again, we were just like, I don't know what else we're going to do. But instead we just had her, we figured out a babysitting situation. So that worked out, but she hasn't seen it yet. So, we'll be excited to watch it with her as well. And like, you know, she has some movies sometimes that, like, if we're trying to keep her awake in the back of the car and we got to drive somewhere, we'll put something on a tablet or something. And this one will be a nice one. IMO.
Well, I saw something about there being a placeholder date for it coming to Amazon Prime Video or whatever it is. It's like May something, but I don't know if I believe it.
Wow. That feels really soon. Well, I guess depends when in May. If it's like end of May, but things are kind of coming to streaming pretty soon these days. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I was surprised to see Avatar: Way of Water is still in theaters. I mean, I'm not that surprised.
I'm not
because
surprised at all.
It's Avatar and stuff.
They're trying to milk that.
But I was
whole
like,
thing.
really? Yeah. It's silly to me. I wish that that director wasn't who he is.
Same.
He's so annoying. But nevertheless,
it's a big L when people like that actually succeed.
I know.
Big L for
That's
everybody.
Pretentious people, just you know.
Yeah, like I mean, ultimately understand that what you do doesn't matter. Like, just you know. But anyways,
it's ridiculous. Yeah, but you know what does matter? Pokemon Stadium's coming to NSO in next week, and that is happening.
That's neat.
The whole article.
Pokemon Stadium. It's annoying though, because freaking why not just do both of them, man? Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I did have that thought too, because they're not that different. I mean, like, they are, but just do both of them. That's.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, right? Like the priority of like what I would prefer to happen. If they're going to do it like that, I would have rather they just freaking released Pokemon Stadium 2 first, because it just had some more content. Like, they have some different mini games, and I mean, that's mostly it in terms of like the in the grand scheme of things. That's like the reason to play 1 over 2.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just freaking give me Pokemon Stadium 2. Granted, I mean, I'm probably gonna play both of them, but like,
I mean,
why drip
I
feed
probably will play one more than two, only because I never owned two, so I only played it at friends' houses and a little bit at that. So one's the one that has the most nostalgia for me. So I'll definitely be playing that one, and I'll probably play two, but
I have
more time.
I mean, I don't really have nostalgia for it at all, but like I have equal memories for both because I had both, and they're mostly the same games. They do have different mini games though, like obviously, but
yeah, I'll be excited to pull out the mini games. I'll be curious to see, because Ashley and I like to play some games together and stuff. I'll be curious to see how they hold up in that context of just like us playing it together, and if she'll enjoy them at all or think that they're really stupid, because maybe as an adult now they're really stupid, but they've already got their hooks in me, so
yeah,
what can you do?
You won't notice as much. I mean, I think generally mini game stuff like this ages pretty well because like part of it is supposed to be dumb and control bad. So it's like it's harder to tell if it was like you guys just didn't know how to design this well, or if it's a thing that's like, oh no, like it's supposed to be like frustrating so that it's harder to win or whatever.
Yeah.
So
that said,
but
I think
I'm sure
I've played them so much that I'll probably be still pretty good at them. So I think I might have to sandbag a little bit to make it fun, just because they're like very ingrained in my memories. We'll see.
We'll see. I also have ideas for streaming things for that.
Nice.
So that would be fun.
Yeah. It is funny. I think I saw somebody tweeting out that like someone was saying, "Oh, this game's not even. How do you even put out this game without Pokemon Game Boy games inclusion and stuff?" And there was I think it was Mitchell was like me who only used rental Pokemon, and that was 100% me. I didn't have the Game Boy adapter thing, so I just used rental Pokemon the whole time, and I didn't even know that you could, for the longest time, actually play your own Pokemon game on there. And then by that time, I just don't think I bothered to do it. So that was
yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody came
this is how I played it.
into my chat when this was announced, and they were like, "Hey, this game got announced. How do you feel about the fact that it doesn't have the game? I mean, the Pokemon import thing?" And I'm like, that doesn't matter at all, because most people that played this game did not do that. I guarantee you that most people that own Pokemon Stadium did not transfer their Pokemon into the video game. I did, but I know most people did not. Because most people do not do most of the things that you can do in Pokemon that's more than just what the video game puts in front of you. And the amount of people
exactly
that for this specifically would play through Pokemon again so that they can get Pokemon to transfer into Pokemon Stadium 1 and or 2 and then go through the process to do that it's very few. There's a very small amount of people. It's like that whole thing about the funnel, right? It's like most people are going to just play the game, right? And then less people than that are going to play through both of the games, and then less people than that are going to transfer into one of the games, and then that's just how it's going to work. So it's like, would I have preferred it work that way? And also another end of this is like the assumption is for the way that they facilitate this feature is through Pokemon Home. So then you're like, okay, are people going to want to only transfer 30 Pokemon into the game? And if the answer is no, and they want to transfer more than 30 Pokemon into the game, are they going to want to transfer more than 30 Pokemon into the game, 30 Pokemon at a time? And if the answer is no to that, are they going to want to pay for Pokemon Home? And it's like, no. Like, as somebody that would want them to do that, I understand why it is not a priority for them. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we get Pokemon Gen 1 and stuff, and then you can do some kind of things with all that, but it's just, it's not an urgent thing by any means. So it'll happen when it happens, if it happens at all. And in the meantime, my microphone fell a little bit. In the meantime, I'll just be a little Rattata, just jumping over some little jumps, and I'll I never got good at the Lickitung game. That's the only one like that I just
I feel like the Lickitung game was the one that I played the most. The Lickitung game,
that one,
and the freaking Metapod game.
Yeah, I love the Metapod game, and the Sandshrew one also. I really liked that one. The little like where you have to dig.
Yeah. Also the Clefairy game too.
Yeah, same. Yep. One. That was one I was. At least as a kid, I was always better than my friends at that one, and that was fun. I wasn't that great at some like the Ekans and Diglett one. I was okay at, but not great.
I hated that one.
Yeah, the Drowsy one, I was like medium at. Because if I remember right, in any case, the sound I think there was just like maybe a little bit of delay, so you had to kind of like work against that. So like the sound of the click and you actually pressing the button like wasn't always exactly the same. Could be wrong. Maybe I'm just making excuses for myself.
I mean, it could be you were playing it on a different TV. One TV had worse response time than the other TV, or refresh rate than the other TV, or whatever. But who knows? The other thing, like the freaking Hitmontop game on Pokemon Stadium 2 is good. I think it's Scizor. There's a Scizor one.
Yep. Sounds right.
The mini games are good. Really, the mini games are the only reason to play Pokemon Stadium. The battle system is just worse. It is literally just worse, and that's not good.
Yeah. So there's that, and then last thing, there was just one bit of this that I wanted to talk about because it's interesting. Is so at GDC, the HAL Laboratories came and talked about Kirby and Forgotten Land. Talked about some challenges with it and just it coming at all. And like one of the things that was interesting is like because Kirby is a circle in 3D, that makes it really hard to know like exactly where he's facing, and just some interesting little tidbits that came out of it. One thing that I want to talk about, because we talk about this all the time, and I was happy with the response in here based on what we talk about, was the following. IGN asked Kumazaki if they felt that Kirby and the Forgotten Land had been transformative for this series. Kamazaki replied saying that if we're talking about what Breath of the Wild perhaps did for the Zelda series in that it was a revolutionized the series, I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land was kind of at a turning point. I think you can consider it as the first step in our kind of ongoing moving forward challenge of now also creating 3D Kirby games.
Yep.
And talked more about that. And I was, but yeah, because on the NVC podcast, Rebecca Valentine, I think, was the one that asked this question mark. And she had specifically asked, like, do you feel like this is a Breath of the Wild moment? And then also talked about that in the same way that we do. And I was like, yes, correct. The word's getting out about what it really means. So yeah, it was just a fun little thing.
But I feel like most people still aren't going to get, like, because face value, it's like, what is Breath of the Wild? Yeah. It's an open world game. So you're saying you want every game to be an open world game?
Like, yeah, exactly.
No, dude.
That's no. Open world Tetris, man. Come on, make it happen.
Yeah, facts.
So yeah, not every game is an open world game, but some games are ones that we're playing. True. And those are the following.
Are you playing any video games at all?
No, the list is very short again. Let's see. I feel like I don't know, played a little bit of Jackbox with friends at some point. Played a tiny bit of Super Mario 3D World to try to get Ezra excited to go see the Mario movie, which then she didn't end up getting to see. But for what it's worth, she was very excited about it, and she was watching me play it, and she was just like jumping up and down like Mario was and trying to say Mario. And not doing well at it. And all of that was just absolutely adorable. So played a little bit of that and a little bit more Live Alive. I finished the Western story now, and I'm on the near future one. So that's, I think I'm on story 5 of 7, and then they all converge in some way. And I have no idea what that looks like just yet. So yeah, interested to see what that's like. But I think that's about it for games for me right now. Okay.
So I played a few games. I played Fire Emblem. It made me angry because many people died, and it was upsetting. Because like You didn't play this game, right? You didn't play this.
Not yet. I'd still like to when time happens.
So it's not a story spoiler, but it is a level mechanic that annoyed me that I didn't know that it was a thing, and that caused me to die. It's a level where the tide gets higher and lower, and you cannot move more than a certain amount of spaces when the tide is high. So I couldn't move characters out of the way of like impending death. So I lost a lot of characters because of that. And it had me tight. I was upset. I beat and the thing is, like, I would have rather have lost. Like, I'd rather Alear have died, because then I get to try it again. But Alear is freaking. So I like literally Alear. I looked at the thing because it like gives you like a little preview of like what might happen. Where it's like you have this percentage of doing this much damage and hitting or not. And it told me that Alear was going to die. It was like the likelihood here is he's out of here. And he freaking dodged it and didn't die, and then he killed them. And I was like, what the? When I want you to kill people, you don't do it. But when I want you to die, you freaking like, what is this? So I lost like not half. I lost a lot of people. It's very upsetting. So then I was like, I don't want to play this game anymore. And I went to. I mean, I'm still going to. I mean, I'm not going to finish it. Before, my goal was I wanted to finish it before Tears of the Kingdom came out. It's not happening now because I don't feel like playing this game no more. And by the time I feel like playing it again, Tears of the Kingdom is going to be right around the corner. And like, I'm not gonna play it. It's just being realistic is just not gonna happen. Even if I want to, it's not gonna happen. Because even now, prior to this doomsday, when I actively wanted to play it, I still wasn't, because there was so much other stuff to do. So when Tears of the Kingdom exists, I'm not going to play it. Like, it's probably going to end up being what Scarlet and Violet was when that very first came out, and I was like, I wasn't even playing Smash for that. That's probably going to happen with Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, I'm just going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom and then maybe Pokemon. And then like maybe Smash like one time every 2 weeks or something like that. And I'm not going to be good at parrying or attacking. I'm going to be tight. But that's probably what's going to happen. So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom it's on my ass list. Hate it.
It's coming.
I mean, freaking Fire Emblem hate it. Bad game. The high tides are stupid. Speaking of stupid mechanics, I've also been playing Pokemon, and we're doing practice battles for the draft. And the more I'm doing that, the more the seams are showing for this battle system that I already thought was stupid. This game is just guessing. It is literally just guessing. It's guessing and then RNG. It's, I think he probably has this item and these attacks, and he's going to lead with this Pokemon, so I'm going to lead with this Pokemon and give him this item and then lead with this attack. And then you could win based off of guessing that, or guessing wrong one time and everything goes to hell. Like, it's so annoying. It is so annoying.
Yeah.
And like, there's like sometimes where like I'll lose a battle and I'm like, oh, I just got outplayed. GG's. And those ones are fine. But most times it's like I got crit here and then that just was a domino effect, or I got paralyzed or burned, or my Pokemon missed a 95% accuracy move or something stupid like that, right? And it's just like, it's so annoying when a game that like very clearly wants to be competitive is so heavily influenced by things that are out of your control. Like, it's so dumb. It's so stupid. Because like in most competitive games, I mean, I would argue all of them, like even in like real world like sports, like chance is a thing. Like, chance is a thing. You gotta guess. That happens. But Pokemon is literally all guessing and all chance. Like, I think it's kind of weird that like claiming that you're quote unquote good at Pokemon is strange to me. Cause like it's just knowing what people usually do.
Yeah.
There's no skill involved in that, and like just watching a lot of Pokemon, so you know, like, oh well, this Pokemon probably, or like grinding the game a lot, and being like, well, this Pokemon probably has these moves, and it's holding this item, and then that's it. There's no execution involved. There's no like minute to minute decision making. It's like, well, this person is probably going to do this, so I'm going to do this and roll the dice. And that's dumb and annoying.
Yeah.
But the draft league. What were you going to say?
Oh yeah, just like that. There's the like storytelling or whatever in that. It's just also not nearly as interesting. Where like, I don't know, you know, when you're playing Smash or whatever, it's like, oh, he came back from, he was about to get 3-0'd and now he won or something like that. And just the way that works. But like, yeah, there's still some stories, I'm sure, within a battle, you know, like if you know what's going on, but otherwise, yeah, if
Most
it's
of the
really
stories
just like,
come from where
yeah,
it's like, I can't believe you got a crit there, and then that, like Smash Brothers. The thing is, like, and with other fighting games and stuff like that, and I think this is probably why I like Smash so much, even compared to other fighting games, where it's like it. And why I like I was gonna talk about that also. Well, that's what I was starting to talk about. I like things that mitigate that, like mitigate guessing and mitigate RNG. The draft league, we did as much as we possibly could. Where it's like, instead of it being 4v4, that you pick out of the 6 Pokemon that you see on your opponent's side or whatever, it's 6v6. So you know all 6 of the Pokemon that you are going to fight. You don't have to guess anything. It's all 6. I mean, you have to guess who you lead, but we can't stop that, which again is unfortunate, because I think guessing, there's nothing skillful about guessing. Nothing.
Yeah.
So the thing about Smash, though, is like, even though in the minute to minute you have to, like, sometimes you have to guess, there's conditioning, because there's like, just by nature of how the game operates, you're given more of a leash to not die for guessing. So if you guess wrong the first time, it's like, oh, okay, well, they did that, so here's the options that either are just optimal or likely, because I can like get their habits based off of how they're playing. And then it becomes more and more of a thing of like, okay, well, I can pick up habits, because humans have habits, and patterns are a thing that we do whether we know it or not. So then it becomes way more of a thing of like just understanding how people work and how the game works, versus like,
it's like reading the situation as it's happening, as opposed to like trying to get a read on like, what decision did they make last week that's going to bring them into today, and then can't change, you know, because like even the minute to minute gameplay for Smash, like that can change. The thing that they did in this situation now, they could do something completely different later, and that's more fun, because like,
and the thing is,
then you can control that stuff.
Even the thing from there, right, where if you run into it, say a stock starts, and the first thing that you do is you dash attack me, I shield your dash attack. So then you're like, okay, I'm not going to dash attack you, I'm going to grab you. That is something that's information that both of us have, where it's like, okay, well, last time I shielded, he dash attacked me. So he has 2 options. Either he tries to dash attack me again, or he's going to try to grab me, because he knows that grab beats shield. So either I preempt his ability to grab me or dash attack me, knowing his frame data versus my frame data, or I read his read and then punish him for trying to do a more committal thing, which is grabbing. And, you know, like, there's just way more, like, control that both sides have because of things like frame data, where it's like, okay, well, either way, this is safe whether they know I'm going to do it or not. Like, in essence, you always have the option to use Protect in Smash Brothers. You always do. And no momentum is gained on your end, but none is lost. With Pokemon, you have the option to Protect maybe once. You can try again, and then you have 33% chance for that to work again. And, you know, like, it's just a whole thing, and it's stupid, and it's not competitive, even though they want it to be. Like an example that like literally had me and Mega Man did a practice battle earlier, right? And I knew, because we were just talking about his team beforehand, that he was going to do Sun. So he led with a Pokemon that I know has Chlorophyll, which gets a speed boost in Sun. But I didn't know which one of his Pokemon specifically was going to set up the Sun. So I didn't know who to like target to like stop that from happening. So, you know, it just became a guessing game. And it's just, stupid.
Yep.
Like, I hate guessing. And a competitive game. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And I think across the board, it's not fun. But people think that
Yeah.
it's fun when it works for them. And the difference is like how forgiving you are across the board. Because for me, it's like I don't really get satisfaction for guessing right as much as I feel like other people do, because they like the high of them guessing right carries their enjoyment of this game even when they don't. But for me, it like it doesn't feel satisfying when I guess right, because I know that if I was them, I would be pissed. You know, like
Yeah.
oh, I lost this game,
And because you could
I
just as
guessed
easily
wrong.
have guessed wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
change the battle system, because I like Pokemon a lot, but the battle system sucks.
Yeah.
That's my TED talk. My continued TED talk that
talk.
will never end until they do it, until they change it.
Yeah. Man, what a time.
Also, I've been
Any other
playing
games
Smash.
you're playing for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's been way more fun. But you know, same stuff. Playing the game,
Yeah.
getting better at the game. There's that.
Makes sense. There's that. And now on to Q&A, which I forgot to ask until minutes before we started. And thankfully, a lot of you folks are just great and put in questions anyway. So
Nice. Love
look
to
at
see
you.
it.
Here we go. So Mike Mick asked, favorite way to toast toast? I don't know of more than like 2.
Wait, what?
Like with a toaster?
Like, wait, what
do
we
you
put
mean like
on the
functionally?
toast? The method of toasting itself. Like, how long do you put? Like, do you put it in a toaster? And you put it in a toaster. How long do you put it in a toaster? And that, like, I don't know. There's so much that I don't know what this means. I don't toast things often. To be fair,
Yeah.
I can't think of the last time that I was like, I'm going to make toast. You know.
We don't have a toaster. Sometimes I kind of wish we do. We have a toaster oven instead. And so I think pretty often I'll do stuff in there. But like, I mean, a toasted sandwich is always better than a sandwich. It's almost always better than a sandwich. So like pretty often I'll just like make the 2 halves of a sandwich, chuck them in there, and then close it up.
You
and eat
have
it.
so much more patience than me. It's crazy. Because I never do. I have a toaster, and I had we had the toaster where it's 4, and I still
4.
do not. I like it's just like that's just extra time to add on to the thing that I already don't really want to do. Like there'll be so many times, and that like I don't know, maybe this is obvious, but I don't feel like I talk about it specifically that much. It's the whole thing within, especially the streaming community, is like, I don't eat food. And that's most of it, is because I don't feel like I like, when I think like, I need to eat because I haven't eaten in a while. Or I haven't eaten in a while. But then I gotta go and do it. And then I gotta wait for it to be done, and then I gotta eat. You know, like there's just so much stuff that needs. I got other stuff to do, and I'm not that hungry, so I just don't eat until I am that hungry, where it becomes worth doing all that stuff that is like annoying me. That like I don't have
so
the patience for
funny.
it.
I think honestly
I
for
just
me,
order
like
something.
doing that specific, I mean, yeah,
Ordering it, like
we
that
now
solves all
live
of it.
far enough away from things that I think only like 2 places deliver to where we live now. So yeah, that's all sorts of fun. I mean, but still, there's a lot of places. Like go 10 minutes down the road, there's a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think like with the toast and sandwiches and stuff, probably I do it and then just do something else in the meantime while it's happening. Like, I don't know that I would have the patience to just stand and wait so much as like,
But
all
it's
right,
not
I'll do
even.
that. and then
Well,
I'll
I
clean
guess
some dishes,
because you
know?
don't have the toaster, that it is enough time to be like, okay, I'm going to go do this other thing.
Yes. Because it's like I do the hard work, quote unquote, of sticking things onto bread,
Right.
and then I just let it do its thing for a while. And
Okay,
then as
that
soon
makes
as
more sense.
time has happened, I get to eat.
Yeah, that's understandable. Because that's also something that, like, I'll be more like, that's the other, like, layer of thought when I'm like, I'm hungry. Do I specifically have anything that I can just, like, put in the oven and then leave
Yep.
for 20
Yes.
to 30, if not more minutes than that? that's something I will do. But if I don't, and it's like I need like a lot of like small preparations, you know, like I'm not doing it. Like I'm just going to either order food or do something that is fast, or just not eat until I'm hungry enough to do the thing, you know.
There you go.
So
good question.
The answer is I don't toast nothing. But like if I'm going to do it, the toaster. You know, just put it in a toaster.
There you go. Second question. And do you think there are still new Pikmin yet to be revealed in Pikmin 4?
Yes. Yes.
What do you think they are?
I don't know what they are, but yes.
I was going to say no, but I could see there being another new one, I suppose. I just have no... I mean, the other one was ice. We have, I mean, let's just go Pokemon types. We've got, at this point,
I mean, they kind of did.
Rock,
I mean, that's kind of what
flying, ice, water, fire, electric, fairy. No, that's flying also. Those are kind of one and the same. The big ones. There's white ones and the big purple ones.
Yeah, I don't know
ones,
what
so
their type is.
Strong?
Like in Smash, they're like, they got like a dark type kind of situation going on.
Yeah,
they kind of look like they're a dark type with the
maybe
the
a
energy
magnet
that they
type.
Disperse.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see like some kind of like steel or magnet. I don't know what that would do that's different than other ones. Is the only thing.
Everything else that we got.
Then like rock or something. Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
But I think so. I think we'll get at least one more.
Nice. And then Let asks, best theater snack, in parentheses, to go to the Mario movie.
Nachos. I say that because that's usually what I get.
That's a good one.
It's nachos.
We got popcorn and Bunch of Crunch. And
those are also
Asher was like, ooh. We could put the Bunch of Crunch in the popcorn and then, have like chocolate. Great idea until they all... I put like half the box in and then they sunk to the bottom. And I was like, I'll just put the rest of the box in. And then those sunk to the bottom. So then like 50% of the movie was also us just kind of reaching into there, trying to fish out a bite of chocolate and popcorn. And at some point I turned to Ashley and was like, you're spelling it like all over my arm. And she laughed a lot. And sure enough, popcorn all over because she was just like rifling through to try to get it out of there.
So the solution there is more preparation. It turns out you gotta break 100%. Up the Bunch of Crunch more so that they're smaller and they don't sink to the bottom.
Lessons learned.
But who wants to do that in a movie theater? Also, I'm sure that that's like a thing. Like they usually got so at my movie theater that we usually go to, it's like they have the freaking chocolate popcorn and like the carnival looking package, just like a cone looking thing. That's pretty good. I usually get that too.
Yeah.
If I like want to spend that much time at the thing, because usually it's like what I like, especially recently. For the most part, like this hasn't always been my experience going to movies, but the last like 5 movies that I went with my brother and my sister-in-law. And usually what happens there is like whoever gets there first is like we like pay for everybody and we go to the thing and then we're like, all right, do you want the thing? And then like recently the last couple of times my sister-in-law got there and she paid, or she like paid for the snacks specifically. So then she's like, you want something? I'm like, no. She's like, you're getting something. I'm like, no. I'm like, all right, fine, nachos. And she's like, that's it. I'm like, yes, that's it. And then that's what it is. But if I get there first and I'm like, I get the nachos, I get something to drink, and then I'll get the freaking chocolate popcorn thing. So depends.
Man, I'm getting real hungry in this episode. I ate dinner earlier and now I'm getting snacky. But yeah, we went to like the least fancy of the movie theaters around us for this one. But there's a very fancy one, little like half an hour away, something like that, or like 45 minutes or something. And that one, yeah, definitely. Well, one time we got like gourmet popcorn that had, I don't know, like regular popcorn, white cheddar popcorn, and like hot Cheetos or something in it. And it sounded pretty good in terms of the things that it was, and it probably would have been good, but it was super stale. Like it had just been sitting there forever. So that was not a very gourmet experience. I don't think we did anything.
I would have got my money back.
Sort of.
Like, what the heck, dude?
Should have.
Stale.
Just felt lazy.
Fair.
So,
I forgot what I was about to say. I was going to say something, but I don't remember. So, let's go on forever.
Gone forever. Alec asked, if all movies were available to rent the day they released in theaters, would you ever go back to a movie theater?
Absolutely not. No.
I think sometimes. Depends on the movie. I think if Ezra was gonna be babysat and for like a date night kind of a thing for some of the bigger movies that we'd want to see, I'd say yes. But generally, no.
Me? No, absolutely not. Because, like, I get the whole, like, experience of it. I can get that at doing other things that I can't specifically do at my house. So why go there to do a thing that I can do at my house in a less convenient way, or depending, because sometimes it's like it's just whatever and you're just watching the movie, but a lot of times it's like at least a little worse than just watching the movie at home, because like people would like get up and go to the bathroom or whatever, you know. It's like that whole thing. It's like, or talking during the movie or getting text message or whatever it is. It's way more easy to control all of those variables at home than it is.
You have to pay $5 for a box of candy that you have to pay like 99 cents for at the grocery store. Yeah.
That's the other thing, because like when we get snacks at the, like, going to see the movies is like, for 3 people, it was like $70. That's nuts, gang. That's nuts.
Yeah.
What type of crap 100%. Is that? And that said, usually when they do that, like when movies come like day and date, or when they have in the past before studios starting getting sued, it was like $30 or something like that, $30-$40 usually to like do the thing. And that ended up being worth it, because it's like, well, I was gonna spend way more than that if I like actually went. But that's only because they set that precedent. So it's like, it's only worth it because they forced it to be worth it.
True.
So no, I would not. I wouldn't.
Yep. Fish the Collector asked, if you could ask Shigeru Miyamoto one question, what would it be?
Why do you refuse to make a new / good Star Fox game?
Yeah. I think, along those lines too, I watched a video recently talking about Shigeru Miyamoto, and because there were articles coming out about people asking him like about story, and you don't really like story in video games, and he was like, oh well, actually I kind of do, sort of, well, it's not this, and like gave a half-hearted sort of answer that like really kind of doubled down, like, no, really you don't, and like that's like, you can just admit it and that's okay. But something around that would be, but it's not going to change his mind, so I don't know if asking it is worth anything, but it is still just an interesting
tells me
thing.
That it's just from the vibe that I get, that it's not a thing that he doesn't like it. I think he doesn't know how to do it well.
Yes.
Because nobody does.
Agreed.
And he'd rather not do it at all than to do it in a half-assed, like, rehashed movie kind of way. That's the vibe that I get, personally.
I think it's interesting though, because like so again in this video it was brought up that like Koizumi had to, like, in certain games, just shoehorn in certain story elements and those ones are like in Link's Awakening, like those things, nobody knew that some of that was going to be in there until kind of the witching hours, and I was like, all right, well, it's got to be in there now. And like, people love that, and they're like, less story, more lore, kind of, that sort of thing. So like, it does seem like, isn't that a pretty happy middle ground where like there could be at least some like context of things, or I don't know, just a little bit more than like Nameless Character 3 does. I don't know. So
I think
it's interesting
lore
stuff.
is infinitely more important in video games than story. Infinitely. Because lore allows for interactivity in a natural way, whereas story takes away from it. Every time. All the time. You can't tell a pre-existing story and also expect the player to interact with it in the way that they choose to interact with it, because they're not telling the story that you're trying to tell, whether you want them to or not. And because a lot of people want them to, they force them to play the game in that specific way to tell the story, which takes away from the medium. So yeah, story in games is dumb.
Yeah, one of the things, like, so again, I played like a little bit of the beginning of the Outer Wilds and then stopped. But I'd like to play it some more. But I know that like the way that lore story kind of stuff is tackled in that is you don't have to. I mean, people compare it in a lot of ways to Breath of the Wild in the exploration focus and stuff, but like you don't have to interact with the story at all, but you also come upon a lot of places where you can like just translate some text that's on the wall, and the more you do that, the more you kind of like understand some backstory behind certain things. But you can also just like completely ignore that, not do it at all, play the game, and enjoy the game. But like that, and like Hollow Knight also does a really good job. Yeah, so like there's a lot of games that like if they just leave the breadcrumbs for you to piece together and turn into a loaf, I don't know. If they just leave the breadcrumbs, then it's a lot more enjoyable to find that out instead of just like exposition time and then here's some cutscenes.
It's leaving like having lore for going story. Because at the end of the day, the story ends up being what you piece together of the lore. Like even in Breath of the Wild, like that's what it is.
Yeah, 100%. All right. RP asked, if Charles Martinet passes away, should Miyamoto-san use his voice as AI for future Mario games?
If Charles Martinet wants him to do that. But if not, then no. I think that's the long and short of it to me. It's like if all parties, if that's what they want, if Charles Martinet is like, yeah, go for it, and Miyamoto's like, yeah, I want to do that, then yeah, sure. But I don't think that I mean, no disrespect to him, but I don't think that like Mario can't go on without him or whatever. So like, if he doesn't want that or Nintendo doesn't want that, then recast Mario. But that's also just the case for everything. Period. Like I think that like there's like the whole thing. I mean, we've talked about this before with like the Mother series and stuff like that, right? Where it's like at the end of the day, Nintendo owns the IP. And if they come to the conclusion that it's like we want to make a new Mother game, they could do that, and it could be fine. It could be better, honestly. But like it's up to them to do that and to be okay with doing that or whatever. Similar situation.
Yeah, it's like it's always. So like Ezra has watched a little bit of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which started in like 2006, and then it stopped at some point and then started back up again like 10 years later because the voice actor that was doing Mickey Mouse for like 50 years, who was married to the voice actress who did Minnie Mouse, which that's a cute little thing. But he passed away in any case. And so then at some point we were watching it, and then it went from season 2 to season 3 or something. And I was like, whoa, Mickey Mouse is a little bit different. Like it's so subtle, and like things are really similar, but also a little bit different. But also you just kind of get used to it eventually. And that's just, the way that it is. And that's with these characters that last years and years and decades, like that's just how it goes, I
mean, that happened with Ash.
So
like Ash was the voice actor. It was Veronica Taylor, and then 10 years in or whatever, Sarah, I don't know how to say her last name, took over the role. And at first it was like, this isn't her, and then it was just like, okay, this is Ash. And it's been Ash for longer than Ash was Veronica Taylor when she took over the role initially. So it's like,
Yep.
That stuff just happens. Like, despite the resistance that a lot of people have to like change, like change is fine as long as you don't change it to something that is worse. It's fine.
Yeah. And especially with Mario, he has so few lines anyway, really, like that I'm sure they can get somebody who does it sound alike that you basically probably couldn't tell, because just saying like Mario Kart 8, that in and of itself, you could do a million takes just to get that exactly right, because, he doesn't say a lot. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, again, like to your point, if they were like, yep, we're going to do AI, then cool. I guess they could do that.
Yeah.
Lucha asked, you're tasked to choose the next themed Nintendo Switch and Joy-Con colors. What are you going to choose?
Oh. I mean,
Next themed Nintendo. I mean, I feel like it would be themed around a specific game that's coming out.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It depends on the game.
So,
I mean, low key, if I was going to do like a Breath of the Wild, I mean not Breath of Tears of the Kingdom Switch, instead of doing what they always do and either making it gold or green or both, I would theme it around the Master Sword instead. So I would make like,
I guess kind of like they
this-
did with Skyward Sword.
no. But like I mean like the whole sword. So like the Switch
Gotcha.
itself, I would make like the color of the blade, and then theme the Joy-Con around the hilt.
Nice.
So that's what I would do.
I would do Pikmin, because it's a game that we know is coming out.
That is a game
and
that's happening.
The Switch, the like bevel around it or whatever, would look just a little bit like an astronaut helmet somehow. There's not much bevel, so you don't have much to work with, but somehow that looks like
What does
an
that
astronaut
mean?
helmet.
Is it going to be like
So,
a,
like-
like a translucent, like freaking like 90s era like clear thing?
More like, no, just like the bottom of it has kind of like a little neck.
Okay.
You're like the bottom of a helmet, like kind of the little metal-y neck part, and then it's just like white or something around the sides, and then the back is more obviously a helmet, like something. There's a bit of a design on it. I don't know what that looks like. But then the Joy-Cons are, you can get a whole bunch of different sets, and they're all just different Pikmin colors, and you can combine the different Pikmin colors. That's the one.
That sounds like a
For some
logistical
reason.
nightmare for them.
100%.
All right,
That's why they're not asking me.
Yeah, we have the special edition console, and then you get to choose how to change each individual SKU. You can like mix and match with these 8 different Joy-Con colors, and you can get either the same of one color, or you can get one of all the combinations of the colors. And then there's like
There you got it.
I mean,
so easy.
If it was easy to manufacture,
Put that on the box.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of people that would like because
True.
they have brain rot. They would just get every possible combination. Like so, I mean, they could sell like a little bit more, I guess. But then also equally, maybe more. There would be some people that just wouldn't buy it because analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
They would just be like,
True.
I don't know what combination I want. So there's
Indeed.
that.
So there you go. There's that. Megman asked, with EAFC... sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so give me the freaking aluminum Switch, and with the Joy-Cons being Master Sword, purplish blue
Yeah.
or whatever.
I'm down. So yeah, Mega Man asks, with EAFC starting their promotional material, I don't know what that is.
FIFA.
I'll look it up. Yeah. What changes would you love to see from your favorite sporting franchise?
I don't have one of those. Bring back NBA and NFL Street. Does that count?
Game Boy Mario Tennis. Does that count? Mine's at least gonna happen. Yours might too. I don't know. But yeah, I also similarly don't have one of those. I don't think.
Yeah. No,
So, Mega Man, I give my change to you to use however you see
yeah,
fit.
you can have
get an
my
extra
change
one.
too. You get 3 changes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so. What a good time for you. So yeah, good question. To the wrong people though, Mega Man. What are you thinking? Last one. GK Dope Esquire asked, favorite game in your least favorite game genre?
Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Oh, that's a good... Yeah. Oh, man. I really don't know. What game genre is my... I mean, I'd probably say like shoot or something. Oh, you know what? I haven't started it yet. But Metroid Prime and shooters. Hey, why not? I technically did start on the GameCube.
Metroid,
I've just been waiting to start
Metroid fans
this one.
would argue you down for that, though.
I mean,
is it a shooter?
Oh, I'm super fine with that because I don't have another answer for this. So like, yeah, but yeah, it's a game with shooting things in it. So I'll take that for now. I don't know that actually. You know what? Maybe somewhere between sports game. Well, no, in general I like sports games probably better than I like shooters. So yeah, I'd say that.
Fair.
It's a pew pew game, as RP says. Yes.
Fair. Pokemon is easily the answer for me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I like Pokemon in spite of its genre. It has nothing to do with the genre at all. Like, nothing. If I could make it almost any other genre, I would.
They should do a Pokemon platformer. Has there ever been a Pokemon platformer of any sort?
I mean,
can't think of one.
The Pokemon, the Pokemon Park, Poke Park, those games, they're kind of platformers.
Are they? Okay. I never played those. So there you go. And I hope that your favorite podcast in your least favorite podcasting genre, I don't know. I hope you liked this podcast. You know, I hope you had a grand old time and that you two get to see the Mario movie and have a big old smile. Honestly, I was smiling like the whole time. It was just a happy, enjoyable experience.
Nice. So, like, comment, subscribe, share the
else.
podcast with your friends, do all the YouTube stuff, do all the podcast stuff, rate the podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.